My name is Heath, and this is my story. On June 6, 2012, I was arrested and charged with 4 felony counts of aggravated assault on a public servant. At that time, I became known as 105755. On January 21st of 2014, I was convicted of those charges and sentenced to 10 years each. On March 24th of 2014, I was sent to Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and that's when I became known as 019135589. I was incarcerated for 6 years, 2 months, and 6 days. On August 8th of 2018, I was released from prison and placed on an ankle monitor awaiting a new trial. Now, many of you have probably already judged me based on what you've heard, and I can understand that because prior to my incarceration, I was judgmental towards those that were serving time in prison. I had no idea that one day I would be in prison. My story that led me to prison began on January 5th of 2012. And that was the day that I decided to kill myself. I'd fallen into a deep depression after my divorce and financial struggles and everything else. At the time, my 2 kids were living with me every other week, and it was just really hard on me trying to support them, keep my bills paid, and throw in the school activities, the extracurricular activities, and just everything else going on. It was just really hard. I'd already felt like I was a failure. Like I said, I was divorced, I was struggling financially, I was struggling socially, bouncing around from job to job. But when I became a failure as a dad, then that was just too much to handle. And that's when I just decided that I was just a burden to everyone around me, and I made the decision to kill myself. I had a welfare check called on me, and at one point in the evening, I walked outside with a gun. And after sitting outside for a little while, things took a turn for the worse. That's when I was shot, and I woke up in the ICU later on and was told that I was facing 4 felony charges. I'd become a prisoner. I became the one that was being judged. Now, once I entered into the prison system, I quickly learned that there's a lot of unwritten rules that are used so that you can be judged. The thing about prison is even when no one's watching, everyone's watching. Who you talk to, who you sit with, who you eat with, who you work out with, you're constantly being judged. And without even realizing it, I became a part of that, just watching and judging. The thing about it is once you were judged to be a certain way, it was difficult, if not impossible, to change that. On May 16th of 2018, the Court of Appeals ruled in my favor to overturn my convictions. Those next few days in prison were like nothing I'd ever experienced before because, I was actually going home. But the thought of going home was just elevated that fear, and it was the fear of being judged. Because you see, prior to June 5th of 2012, I served here at Crossroads. I was on the tech team. Most Sundays you would see me either on projection or running a camera. That first Sunday that I walked back into Crossroads was just something that's really hard to describe. I came in alone. I was also wearing an ankle monitor at the time, and I was really struggling with that, wondering what people are going to say, what they're going to think. Are they going to speak to me? Are they going to shun me? What judgments are they going to place on me without even knowing my story? But, I'd been in their shoes before. I wasn't obvious about it, but I would watch and I would look and I would judge. Here on the Odessa campus, on the way to the auditorium, you see people everywhere. But this Sunday was different. There was no one at the entryway. There was no one at the door. And the only thing I can say is that God knew exactly what I needed, and He made the way. So as I was walking in, There was only one person coming out, and that was Beverly. I didn't know what to say, and the shame overwhelmed me, so I just put my head down and just kept walking. And she glanced at me, and then she looked at me again, and she said, "Heath." And I just looked up and said, "Yes." And she stepped to me and gave me a hug and welcomed me back. There was no judgment. It was exactly what I needed. That feeling of acceptance and that feeling of relief those are feelings that I'll never forget. And all I can say is God is good. Now that I'm back, I'm serving on the tech team again, and my church family, from the time of my arrest, they've continually prayed for me, they've continually loved me through this whole process. And even up to recently, now they're able to celebrate with me, because as of February 10th of 2021, all 4 felony convictions were dismissed, and my ankle monitor has been removed. It's actually gone. And I still have moments from time to time that I place judgment on God by blaming Him for my mistakes. But my faith and my trust continue to grow. And I can't say that it's exactly where it needs to be or where it should be, but I'm growing.